You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 232 of the Centralized Favorite Podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by executive digital audio producer Zach Burcham and my forever co-host Dakota Davis. What do we got going on, man?
Today's episode features the soap lady, the Beehive Body Company, Miss Mary Hobbs herself, the celebrity, local celebrity. We'll call her. You guys know me. You know I'm big into soaps. I've been saying for the past 4 years that I love soaps. I'm a soap connoisseur, and she brought me 2 bars. She brought us some branded Boss Hog of Liberty lip balm, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of different things. Jeremiah, of course, wants to talk about COVID. So we're going to get that away.
I don't want to talk
at the
about
very
it.
beginning. This is the second week in a row
it's
you put
implied.
COVID in the show notes. I told you I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm over it.
Well,
and then we're also going.
listen, buddy, if you start talking about the show before 2 o'clock on a Thursday, you can write the notes.
We're really going to be talking about the Beehive Body Company and what that is all about, and supporting American businesses, the American supply chain, how that has gone in the past couple of years, because it's been a little bit different. So make sure you stick around and hear all about that.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. This show is going to push my boundaries and comfort levels tonight because
You don't like soap?
because I have a one-man protest against soap. No, because my laptop took a bath just before the Patreon began, and I am working from a single cell phone to be able to watch the comments and
No
do my
distractions.
reads.
He's only
No
got
distraction.
one available screen. He normally has 3 to 4.
Exactly. I am doing this with a wet piece of paper, a bad attitude, and one tiny little cell phone screen.
I say no distractions, but it is a promise for Patreon members that if you sign up at patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty, then you can ask questions during the show and we'll answer them. So we do kind of need to keep track of that. Yeah, patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty. That is where you can go to support the show every month. It's a monthly payment service, and you can pick whatever amount you month. We have some suggestions on there of what we want, but you know, any kind of support we appreciate. We have people that are paying like $1.82 a month, and we appreciate those people. Mr. Stone Aldrich, he's still sticking around. You know that?
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's doing great. But we have folks that support us at $50 or more a month, and they get a shout out at the front of every episode. Those folks are Miss Christy Avery from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Mr. Jonathan Phillips, our favorite car dealer in the continental United States. And then, of course, the trucker himself, Mr. Anthony Meyer, who's the meme supplier for all of the Boss Hog of Liberty fans. You can see all of the memes that he makes pertaining to the show. They're so good. They're so funny. Everyone tells me they're the best in the whole world, and I agree. You can find those in the Boss Hog of Liberty Patreon supporters Facebook group, which you get if you sign up to donate every month. You also get show notes.
Must still have a Facebook account to apply.
Yes. If you have to sign up for Facebook just to get in the group, I think it's worth it. I think Anthony Meyer makes the group that good.
If you limit your Facebook to only that one group, and this is the only thing you do,
you'd have a pretty healthy relationship.
You'll be
with Facebook.
less pissed off at the world.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Leave every group but the Patreon.
It's not a toxic place. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a happy place. You get to vote sometimes.
Yeah.
Last week they decided what we were going to eat.
That's true.
And then this week I forgot to bring the thing we're supposed to do because it's just been that night.
And Mary brought us a bunch of lip balm.
Yes.
Maybe the Patreons are going to get those in the mail.
So that's what I was just thinking. I have a bunch. I don't know if you guys remember, but I sent out like some, I think it was the stickers.
Are they all this peppy mint lip balm?
Yes.
They're all the same flavor.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of vanilla to it and a peppermint.
Perfect.
Yep.
Because I've been battling a bad case of COVID this week, so I'm really
Okay, I can't protect you against COVID.
no, but my lips have been chapped.
Oh, okay.
So, and all like very pure
These are jokes,
ingredients.
people. These are jokes. You can still have a common cold. It's
Yeah,
allowed.
I still have a bunch of envelopes left from whenever I sent out the bow ties from episode 100. So I think that we can make that happen for some. You know, I don't think that I can promise it to everybody because some people don't give their addresses out.
I mean, if you want it, you need to DM Dakota your address and update.
Yeah.
Update. Otherwise, it is what
If you want it, then you need to update your address. All right. We also have T-Chip stores. That's where you can get your Boss Hog of Liberty merchandise. tchip.com/BHO1234 or mug. Those are all different T-shirts. We still have the face masks in case you're like those people that I saw in Cincinnati.
In case you're going to get on an airplane.
Yeah, airplane. That's true. There was a bunch of people in Cincinnati when we were there that were still wearing masks.
I had to wear one last night for a school program.
On Tuesday night, I picked a student up at Ball State University in a residence hall, and I was supposed to wear a mask to go inside. I didn't because I'm a rebel.
I can only imagine the compliance they get at a dorm at Ball State.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the whole weird thing. You don't know when you're supposed to wear a mask or when you're not. Like
I didn't walk into the building with my mask in my pocket because I haven't needed it since I don't know when. Since October.
I have to look for one. If I need one, I have to I need to go find my mask. It's not it's not with me.
Yeah, I have a pretty beefy one that I carry with me that I can actually change out the filter, but I wear mine quite a bit just because of my situation. But yeah, I wish instead you have the open sign on a business and then you have a mask or a mask with a red slash through it. So you at least know what you're supposed to culturally do.
Yeah. Yeah. How are the people in here going to react if I walk in with a mask or without a mask?
There's different levels. There's mask required, mask recommended, mask optional. If you wear a mask, we'll shoot you. There are different levels of what, and it depends upon what town you're in.
It does.
For sure.
I'm pretty sure if you go to Spiceland, it's the latter.
I walk in and find an employee visually, and I try and base off the employees. Because if the employees aren't, then I'm like, fine. And if they are, but they're behind yards of plexiglass, I'm like, we'll see. Yeah,
I just
kind of judge the
default
room.
go no.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I have to walk back to the car to get one, I will, but it's the one in a million. Mm-hmm. If I'm in a professional capacity, I will carry it. If I'm going into a customer's office, but that's slightly different.
Yeah.
So
speaking of the mask, Jeremiah wants to talk about COVID.
I threw it in the show notes because the front page news and all of the local newspapers, the Indianapolis Star, the Courier Times, there's people saying that, COVID is surging. The hospital, the only thing that I've been really paying attention to, it's not the infections, it's the hospitalizations, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're hearing from the medical professionals is that the head count at hospitals is up again.
Yes. So
putting that out there, that there is a bit of a surge, and it's become news in the last week since we've last met, that some of that's seasonal. You get more people at this time of the year that get admitted for various things anyway. December's kind of the busy season for hospitals. But just one of those things. I don't think it's Omicron or whatever. I think that's just literally another variant that exists, and people are clicking and using it for their advantage to get clicks. But both our local hospital here in Henry County and statewide, apparently IU Health had the equivalent of a state of emergency, saying, "Hey, tap out. We need some help here." So whatever. I don't know. Everybody at this point, nobody's learning anything new. It's just it's a one metric that I choose to follow.
Yeah. I mean, the hospital census is important to see. There's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? At this point, this late in the game, what can you do? Other than if you haven't made a decision, you're the undecided voter in Halloween, the day before presidential election that's been going on for 2 years. You're the person that's like, oh God, I might get vaccinated, I might not. Well, that's the one. Yeah. That's the one person that has a lever still to push. Dakota. I heard Dr. Rhonda Patrick is a physician that have been following for years. And I really trust her. And her thing was you are going to be exposed to COVID. Just talking to anyone.
That's among us.
You are going to be exposed to it. You you have to decide, like, do I want to be exposed to it vaccinated? Can I not be vaccinated? Do I choose to not be vaccinated? All that is your choice. But she was saying, if you choose not to be vaccinated or you can't be vaccinated, it's an important thing to talk to your doctor and say, hey, if or when I test positive for COVID, I would like to have a protocol or talk to you about some ideas of things that I should be doing immediately upon that positive test to be treated early, try to knock it out, try to keep from being admitted to the hospital.
Now, something else that it's not been proven to help, but sometimes you can take your Facebook profile picture and you can add one of those frames around it, and that will also help. So,
but I thought that was
possibly even stacking them up on top of themselves can, if you get 2 or 3 or 4 of them together, those are like booster frames, and then you just keep adding them on.
Yeah, you just keep putting each one on, and it's not as effective as the vaccine itself.
I'm playing because Beth Hobbs is in the chat, and
I was going to say,
and I can see it from here.
It's probably the frame itself is probably what, like 50% is effective. 50% is effective as a vaccine. Yeah. I would say, yeah.
The frames. Yeah, but if you get 3 of them, that's like 95% capture rate.
Which honestly, like my parents, I felt really bad for them during when COVID hit. And at one point, my poor dad is in there pumping hand sanitizer. And I will never, you have those moments with your parents where you'll never forget. And my dad looks at me and goes, I didn't retire to come and work for my kid. And I looked at him, I go, and granted, I had not slept in like 3 days. And my dad literally came out of my mouth to my dad. And I said, what the hell else do you have to do, Bob? You can't go anywhere. Like, I'm feeding you ice house, or the dog house, and like, you're at least out of the house. And he was like, well, okay, you have a point. And watching those two fight over putting sanitizer labels on were the funniest thing ever. And my employees are like, are they joking? Like, so
lifelong memories, Mary.
Oh yeah. The things that my parents are huge supporters of what I do, but my dad wasn't very happy, the only thing I was taking away from was their puzzle. They put puzzles together.
They're big puzzle people.
Yeah, they're big puzzle people. Like, you'll go and like their big dining room table has like a giant like 500-piece puzzle, and I'm like, well, what else do you have to do? Like, you can't travel, so you're putting together a puzzle. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
They're just puzzling.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Puzzling them days away.
Which they still do this day. You'll go over and there'll still be a big puzzle across the dining room table.
So this is a good time to formally introduce Mary. Mary owns and operates and founded and is the chief executive bottle maker and Beehive wax maker over at Beehive Bottle Company in Mount Summit, Indiana. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the company and how it came about.
The company was a total accident. If you'd asked me a decade ago if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I would have laughed at you and told you no. I was a jet mechanic and I got doused with hydraulic fluid and I couldn't get it off. And none of the soaps worked. So, I went to Pinterest and I looked up how to make a bar of soap, and I thought, well, obviously I can fix this. And so I made a batch of soap, and I was a chef before I went in the military. And in my chef brain, a pound of soap did not sound like very much. So I doubled the recipe, and then I put like 2 pounds of pumice in this. By the time I'm done, I'm like putting the stuff in like old like sour cream containers, just anything I could find to literally like contain this stuff at this point. And I handed it out to a lot of friends and on the flight line, and we ended up, they came back, they're like, man, you got to keep doing this. Like, this stuff works. And that's how I accidentally started a soap company. And I was still active duty military when I started it. And then I got into the beard competition thing is really, really big in Utah. And I got in with a couple guys that actually went to the World Beard and Mustache Competition in Germany. That is a thing. These guys compete on national levels. Their beards are insured. And it's a big deal. And I actually started out with the men's line first, and then it kept growing, and it's now a full line of skincare from everything to little kids to, men and women.
I did see that you had the beard products.
Yes.
And but I didn't see how much is your beard balm?
My beard balm and beard oil are $15, or you can get a beard oil and a beard balm combination for $25.
It's disgusting to talk about money, Dakota.
No,
I'm just curious.
It's worth what it's worth.
The reason I asked is she's got good prices, especially for these natural products, because as a bearded man, this stuff can be outrageous. So expensive. I know you don't have to deal with this, Jeremiah.
It's a choice you make every day, Dakota. You say, am I going to keep this beard or not? And you do.
Here's the deal.
And here you are belly aching about the beard maintenance costs.
The oil is
showing off that lumberjack look you have.
Extremely, extremely necessary.
Yeah.
Especially like I work outside, so skin gets dry, and it is hell on earth, itchy as crap underneath that beard, and the beard oil will just take it all away. And here's the deal. I've tried the really expensive ones. I've tried, the cheap ones. I have tried some really cheap ones that have made like my beard crusty.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good deal. But usually like an all natural product is really good. And I've tried the super expensive ones. I think I paid like $44 once for a little vial, like a dropper vial of beard oil.
That's as expensive as inkjet toner.
Yeah.
Like inkjet oil.
And I couldn't tell a difference, Mary. I couldn't tell a difference.
It's all the marketing.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of it, if you start to compare ingredients, but my men are actually pickier than my women. And I have just as many male clients as I do female. My guys will come in. They know exactly what fragrance they want. They go right to it. They pick it up. And it's like one of those, it's like they don't want to be seen in there buying that stuff. But then, but my guys they're very, very picky. And then actually I have a lot of guys that use bath bombs. We do a CBD bath bomb, and they will come in and they'll, load up on CBD bath bombs for the weekend. Like my regulars, I can tell what kind of week they've had by, if they buy 2 bags or if they just buy 1 bath bomb. Be like, oh, it's that kind of week. I'm sorry. But, my guys, they're picky, and they, we tested a lot on a lot of different guys that, work in a lot of different elements.
You're telling me that you have grown ass men with beards that show up and they come in and they walk to the back of the store and they buy bubble bath bombs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They'll buy CBD bath bombs, and there's some guys that, like man pampering. I call it mampering.
So have you thought about growing your business by putting these in indiscreet boxes and mailing them to them?
Yeah.
I have no problem. Like, you can't tell on the outside, like, what is in our boxes. And then there's some people that they buy, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're single. Like, but they'll ship. And, we ship in a white box or, a brown box. Like, you're not going to know what's in there. And if that's what they need to do to relax, then go for it. I'm not going to knock anybody. I mean, we all have our vices. And if, a bath bomb on Friday night and a beer in your bathtub is what it takes, then
sometimes I just like to take a bourbon and ginger ale and pour it on my laptop on a Thursday night.
You might, I probably should have brought you one of those if I'd have known how your night's going to go.
That's something that I do.
This is fine.
I find funny about the Duke Cannon brand, which is another soap brand, is that how they've made a satirical, like overly masculine soap. And I'm in a Duke Cannon Facebook group, and there's sometimes like most of us get that they're being funny.
Yes.
Like it's over the top masculine to be funny about masculine soap. But sometimes there's guys that'll get in there, and it's like the whole reason that they got into Duke Cannon is because they could finally find a soap that they feel like they didn't have to be ashamed to admit that they enjoyed.
Oh, yeah. A guy doesn't want to walk into Bath and Body Works, because if you go into Bath and Body Works, the men's stuff is all the way in the back corner, just like the milk and the toilet paper. If they put a cash register and their product right up front, I mean, my showroom's the size of your guys' studio. So, I mean, it's not like you got to wade through, 50 aisles of stuff and, candles and whatever else. And we're out in the middle of a cornfield. So, I mean, it's not like somebody's going to probably spot your vehicle there either. So, I mean, we're about as discreet as you can get. And, but yeah, it's one of those things that, like, there's nothing wrong with a guy smelling good.
I'm creating this false stigma. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with buying soap.
No. But it's been interesting, and I've done this. I started this. I think how those people that are really together have like their first dollar they ever made, and they know exactly like the date they founded their company. Somewhere around 2012, I think, is when I made like my first batch of soap. I think I started selling it around 2013. So I've done this for a while now. And it's been interesting to see, like, over the years how it's really evolved. And,
Just so that I know, as an ethical person, how many honeybees did you kill to put in that little tube that you gave us? The Beehive name. What are the bees involved?
No. So I actually don't own bees. When I started this company, I was in Ogden, Utah, which is about an hour north of Salt Lake City.
The Beehive State.
Yes, the Beehive State. So even the bail bondsmen there are Beehive. So,
really?
It goes with the whole.
The Utah.
Yeah. And
genesis of it.
Yes. So when I moved it back here, I was like, okay, it took me forever to come up with that. And I mean, it was the Beehive State. I totally ganked it from like where I was living. And I was like, I'm not going to change it again because,
it's like being Rose City and being from Newcastle or Richmond.
Yes. And so, when I moved it here, I just kept the same name. The logo has evolved over time and, our packaging. Like I look back at some of the first stuff I posted and I was like, oh, honey, you were cute. Like you tried. And, some of those first bars of soap, I still have actually 2 of very, very early on batches of soap. And I'm just like, oh, you were so proud of that little thing. And
listen, we feel the same way about our original logo here.
Yeah.
Have they always been a cube?
No, they used to actually be more of a rectangle. I had some that were shaped. My dad actually so now we're big enough that we produce slab molds, which make 25 pounds of soap at a time.
Woo!
Yeah. So when we have a soaping day, we produce about 250 to 300 pounds of soap in one shot.
Praise God. That's a lot of soap.
Yeah. We sell a lot of soap. And the girl that we get our goat's milk from, she's absolutely adorable. She's a 16-year-old girl. She's homeschooled. She's down by Carthage, Indiana. And she's huge.
I've been pulled over many times now.
I drive through there every now and then. But she is very big into like the breeding of goats and like genetics. And this girl's she's going to go somewhere. She's very, very on top of it. But she's very passionate about these goats, and that's who
is the breed of dairy goat listed on the soap milk?
No.
I mean, what kind of goats are we working with here?
So I don't exactly. I know that she doesn't have Nigerian dwarfs because Nigerian dwarfs have a really fatty goat's milk, and we love the breed of goat that she has because it's not super fatty. Because the minute you pour the lye and the goat's milk together, the lye will attach on any fat molecules in the goat's milk. So
she's got an Alpine or a Saanen or a Toggenburg. So one of the Swiss breeds, yeah.
But this girl, I mean, she loves her goats as much as we love soap. So it was a really cool partnership. And FFA, she had a hole in her SAE program, and this actually filled a huge hole in her SAE program where they weren't dumping milk. Because at one point they just dumped it, or they would feed it back to newborns. Well, when they didn't have newborns, they were dumping. So they were all like, well, why can't you find an avenue for, to get rid of this goat's milk? Well, it's as hard to sell goat's milk in Indiana as, I mean, you have to have all kinds of licensing.
Yeah, human consumption is very difficult.
Oh, yeah. So she got a pet milk license so she can sell to us. And it's been a really cool thing. Like she's came in and watched, and yeah, they're really great people. And this was a really cool partnership. And now I don't have to, because at the one point I was going to get 2 milk goats and have to milk goats twice a day, which I love animals, but this just really wasn't in my,
Like I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
Where are you going to keep the goats?
My boyfriend's farm. I had to sit down and talk to his parents, and I was like, so you guys are really supportive of me. And by the way, I need to like fence off half your yard to put 2 goats out
You
here.
stuck them in your parents' backyard.
I really would love to see Bob having to milk dairy goats twice a day.
And Beth chasing goats around.
No. My parents.
Goats are out on the highway again.
They support me to the ends of the earth, but I mean, they've told me no.
Marry your goats out on 234 again.
Yeah. The local county sheriff just brings them home,
Well, they can milk them on the way.
Yeah.
So how's the business go from, okay, I made this because I was pissed off about having hydraulic fluid on me, to growing it into a full-time business that you brought back home?
It's really crazy. I've never really paid for marketing. I don't think it's one of my strong suits. Our products really speak for itself. So it would be another one of the guys on the flight line would come up and they'd be like, hey, I heard you make soap. Like, can I get a bar? And it just kind of grew from there. And then as the minute that military men retire, they grow a beard. Like that's the first thing. They're out the gate. They don't have to shave every day anymore. And so then that's when the beard stuff would come in. And in fact, a lot of the guys that I had tested the beard care products on were guys that had gotten out. And so they're veterans now, and they have these giant big beards, and, they'd come back and be like, okay, well, I like this, which we're in northern Utah. So you're dealing with very, very cold temperatures. You're dealing with fierce winds. And they'd be like, okay, well, you this is my problem. How do we fix this? So there was a lot of testing that went into that in a pretty harsh condition. And then when I moved back home, I like I said, my parents are huge supporters. My dad's like, kid, I love you, but I don't think you're going to be able to sell bars of soap here for $8 a piece. And I said, well, I'm going to try. The biggest thing is, I'm going to fail. So I started making soap in their basement. And it grew pretty quick doing festivals and stuff around here. And then I had the opportunity to open up a shop in Sulphur Springs, Indiana, which is a little blinky light, like a town of like 200 people.
That's where producer Chris, former producer Chris,
yes.
Still has his day job.
Yes. In fact, one of my employees used to be his server at the little restaurant there in town. And so I opened up that, and I quickly outgrew that in a matter of about a year and a half. And then I had the opportunity to move to a bigger facility, which was right before COVID hit, which luckily we did. And so I made a decent name for myself doing festivals for a couple of years. I had the storefront. It went really well. And then the next thing I knew, we had this opportunity to move to a bigger spot, 3 miles down the road. So I jumped on it, and I remember walking in this place going, I am never going to fill this. Like, this is way too much space. Like, I don't need this much. And now
this is a portion of the old Brooks tomato factory.
Yes,
and chili factory, or chili beans.
Most Hoosier thing ever. And then the next thing I know, COVID hits, and people were scrambling at that point. And we had a supplier where we could get drums of hand sanitizer. And I remember calling the health department being like, hey, if I can get, like, I'm not going to order these drums because they're expensive at this point. They were actually shipping the drums of hand sanitizer under the name of Lotion Base because people were stopping semis on the interstate. And if they had hand sanitizer, they were raiding them. And so I called the health department here in town, which have been fantastic. And I'm like, hey, I have this opportunity. He's like, will you please stay open? Like, please, for the love of everything, please, if you can get your hands on this. So at one point, we were like the only people that had hand sanitizer in a 5-county radius, and we couldn't bottle this stuff. Like, we would, we would figure out, like, at one point I could tell you how many ounces exactly were in a 55-gallon drum and how many bottles we could produce out of that. We'd produce what we could, throw it up on the website, and we would be sold out. And like, I had people go to my mom being like, hey, can we get on the list for hand sanitizer? Mom's like, what list are you talking about? Like, my mom's like, I get like the half-filled bottles that whenever they like run out, like, she's walking around like all these like little half bottles of hand sanitizer. My sister's working in a nursing home. Like, we're supplying everybody we can. And it was the craziest thing. And we were working like 20-hour days, and it was it just straight up hand sanitizer? Yes. For a while. Have fragrance or anything in it? Yeah, we had, I think at one point we had almost 6 or 7 different scents of hand sanitizer. Okay. And then like our Christmas sets last year had hand sanitizer in them because, that's the world we lived in. And we have teachers to this day and I didn't feel comfortable making it because I knew this stuff had been tested. And it's actually the only thing that we don't make in-house is this. But I wanted to be able to put a safe product into people's hands that I knew that was going to be safe for them to use. It was going to protect them or offer them a layer of protection. And I had the chance to get it, and it was, I think we went through 7 drums of hand sanitizer. We were selling it by the gallon. We were selling it everything, and we still sell it to this day, and it's still not cheap because of what we paid for it at the time, but people love it. And, it's weird when we see these surges, we'll see people start buying hand sanitizer again. And
that's why we do that in the news, is to help small businesses.
Yes. You got
to bang that narrative till the drum's empty.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, people would start with a hand sanitizer, and then they would see we had other things, and they would start adding on. Like, we sell a foaming sugar scrub that's probably one of our best sellers. Our lip balm, I joke that's our gateway purchase. People, you spend $5 for 2 lip balms at a show. Well, then they're like, oh, well, we love your lip balm. And then they come back and they start buying other stuff. So it helped us get into a lot of hands, and a lot of, it really broadened our reach. And now we have customers kind of all over the country. At one point I was sending hand sanitizer to like my friends that were stationed in Washington.
That's what I wanted to know, is how the business is operated across state lines. If it's mostly local, or if you gotten the this mail order business going as well.
Yeah, it's weird. We'll go through spurts where we'll have a huge surge in online purchases. We'll have random people like show up in states, and I'm like, I don't know anybody here. But, people will come in, they'll be like, oh, we're going to go visit so-and-so in another state. We're going to take them, a bag of your stuff. So it's just like our customers, they are diehards and they're fantastic. And they'll come in and, they're very good about sharing the product and giving it as gifts to other people or mailing it to other people. And we've shipped, I think, almost to all 50 states. There's like 5 or 6 we haven't. And, that's the coolest thing ever. I mean, I have wholesale customers. There's a girl here in town named Cindy Gibson, and she owns Maxwell's Boutique. She, COVID has brought out the survival of the fittest in a lot of us. And she owns a boutique. Obviously, there's major shipping issues. She opened up a warehouse that allows retailers to go in there and to shop for boutiques, or if you own a salon, or you have to have a retail merchant certificate to shop there, but we were able to put our products in there. So now there's all these boutiques and stuff all throughout Indiana
that are carrying your product.
That are carrying our products. Like, I've walked into stores and I didn't even know they were carrying our products. I'll be like, oh, hey, it's me. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been so really cool. And, that's allowed me a different avenue to reach out. And our wholesale business this year was just about equal to our retail sales.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So this is the rosy side of it. What would you say from the, hey, I'm operating a small business? What's the other side of it? The struggle side?
The biggest one is the supply chain and not being able, like, we joke that we have the caps of COVID because of a plastic shortage. Like, I think right now we're up to 4 different styles of sugar scrub caps. At one point we had pink pumps for our lotion and our hand sanitizer because that's literally all we could get. Right now, just their citric acid prices have went from like $70 for a 50-pound bag to over $350 a bag. So, we're dealing with pricing, we're dealing with supply chain issues, and, just not knowing what you're going to wake up to the next morning, what we're going to be out of.
Still $8 a bar right now, and that's like a bargain. So
yeah.
Do you find yourself having to make substitutions in your recipes, or are you still able to find the same things that make a Beehive product the same as it always has been?
We're not going to bite the bullet on quality, and my customers are, we're actually going to have to raise our soap prices because I love the fact that our soap has lard, it has tallow, it has soybean oil, which are 3 things that are very, very readable around here. And you also have the goat's milk. And so, like, our soybean oil prices have went through the roof. Like, high five to all the farmers that are making a ton of money off soybeans right now because, oh my gosh, like I think it's almost tripled in price now. So the first year we are going to have to raise our bar soap prices, which I hate to do that, but people are very understanding right now.
I mean, like $8, like whenever I got on your site today to see how much the soap was, I was shocked that it was $8 a bar.
And they're decent sized bars, and we accidentally overpour some, and you look at them and you're like, what were you thinking that day when you poured soap? Like, some of them are like a half inch taller than those. We're not going to upcharge. Like, we're just going to be like, hey,
what it is.
Yeah. And
you win. Dig around a little bit and find the big piece.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, it's funny because when you look, we have, like, if you ever worked in a restaurant, we use the baker's racks for our soap. You can see like where the mold tilted one day because my dad made all my molds, so they're not exactly 100% square. But they work really, really well. But you can see where, like one side's a little higher than the other. And, but that's part of it. You can tell that, we made it, and we cut soap on Facebook Lives and people love it. It's one of those.
It's like going to watch fudge get made.
Yeah. And so, we cut soap and people are like, oh, it's so relaxing. And then we get yelled at because we haven't cut soap for a while. And I'm like, well, we made like 700 pounds right before Christmas. So, it's been really interesting to see how our customers react with us. And, when we do bring out new stuff, like we have this new stuff that we're getting ready. I don't know when we're going to roll it out. We're still in the testing phase of it, but it makes your bath look like a holographic, almost. They call them like a galaxy bath or something.
Those, yeah.
So we're actually playing with that right now. And, it's what we can keep doing to make new stuff, to bring in new customers, or to give those customers that have been with us for 4 or 5 years something new.
So what kind of scents are we talking about? If I'm going in and looking at soaps, am I like, okay, yep, that's vanilla? Or are we talking orange? Are we talking about weird stuff? What kind of things are we finding?
We're known for our funny names. like one of our most popular fragrances is Get Laid in Hawaii. It smells just like fruit punch.
Craig DaCosta, we're talking to you, buddy.
Yeah, there you go. We have a little bit for everybody. We have that spa. We have that fruity scent. We rolled out our first vanilla one, which I was always really against because you can go anywhere and get like a vanilla sugar scent.
So the two you brought in are Rest in Peace, R.I.P. or RIP.
Yes, off the Yellowstone character, which I'm always afraid I'm going to get sued. So
it says Rest in Peace.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can take it for Yellowstone.
And the other one is a
crushed candy cane.
Crushed candy cane. So that's a holiday season.
Yes.
I'm pretty shocked at how much it smells like a candy cane.
Yeah, it smells like you stick your head in a bag of candy canes. And I actually love that. I don't think that our holiday scents are going to be going away this year because people really, really love them.
Have any pine?
I don't right now.
Pine?
I don't. But our men's scents, we have one that is Maverick, which actually I named that the day that the Top Gun 2 trailer came out.
Nice.
But
that was a great movie when it finally did come out again.
I still haven't seen it. Has it ever came out?
No, it was supposed to come out before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think we're down to Labor Day 2027.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise will be lucky. He'll be 80 years old when that movie finally comes out. But yeah, I have the bar soap I've got right now at home is Maverick.
Yeah. I mean, that jet's still sitting on the end of the runway, and obviously somebody isn't fixing it to get it off. But yeah,
because she's making soap.
Yeah. And then we have one that's a Matthew McConaughey dupe, and it's called Dazed and Cornfused instead of Dazed and Confused.
Nice.
But yeah, we have a butterfly fart, which a little kid named it, and he swore up and down he had learned all about butterflies, and he was telling me all about it because all like little kids come back and they can smell different scents, and he was adamant that if a butterfly farted, this is what it would smell like because he had learned in schools that butterflies eat flowers. And in his little 5-year-old mind, if a butterfly farted, this was what it was going to smell like.
Smell like a flower.
Yeah. So then I tried to change the name on that one, and nobody liked it, so I just changed it back to butterfly farts. Which now we have like frosty farts, which is like we have a bath bomb that's a snowball, and then we have dinosaur farts because I mean either the 5-year-old and all of us or that 5-year-old that wants it.
I was going to say, did Zach's oldest name that one?
Oh yeah,
No, he would. I would get that though, and he'd love that.
Yep. So, we have a pretty wide variety of scents. We try to kind of hit everybody's, spot of what they might want. And
that rip smells like really good.
It is.
Really good scent.
Do you have, and sometimes I have to shop for my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Do you have any that smell like Mario Andretti?
I could totally make that label. We could call it like Magic Mario or something.
Magic Mario, have an Italian flag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But, we try to get everybody kind of taken care of. And, people talk about target markets, which my target market kind of defined itself when I was I probably should have picked my target market way before I kind of just let it go.
Before you started marketing?
Yeah. But I have little kids that come in and we have these, it's a 6-pack of kids mix and they're kids scents, which are a smaller size bath bomb. And the kids love it for the color. They don't care what it smells like. They just want it to color their bath water. And we have people that literally came to me. They're like, look, my kid wants the whole bath bomb. If I break it up, they're not happy about it. So we listened to our customers and we started making these smaller bath bombs that allows a kid, and you're not going to go bankrupt in the process.
Right.
Yeah, but they don't see you breaking it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give it half.
Cheating me.
Oh, yeah. And then we have paint your own ones, and we've had people get those for a wine party at their house, and you can paint your own bath bomb.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
So if folks are in the area, they can check out Mount Summit, Indiana, and stop in, or beehivebody.com.
Yep.
And do the direct mail thing.
Oh yeah.
Can we still get something in time for Christmas?
Yes, actually, we have been. I had a bitter feud last year with the USPS, so we went to the UPS. And our brown truck shows up every day, which normally we're getting stuff. We have the greatest mail guy ever for the UPS. His name is Kyle. He gives you his phone number and you can call him, and he's just fantastic.
Heck yeah, shout out to Kyle.
Oh, Kyle.
I want to go back to the bitter feud. You got my attention. How did they harm you? Did they steal your boxes?
No.
What happened?
So evidently last year, I think there was a multitude of factors that went into what happened with the USPS, but I literally had a box going to Rushville, Indiana, and it was, I think the lady purchased it around the 5th of December. It sat in Indianapolis on a tractor trailer up until like the 21st of December and never even moved. And they couldn't get mail sorted. And like, finally, I just sent this lady another package. I'm like, look, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm really, really sorry. Nobody saw this coming.
Did she finally contact you and say, like, I got it?
Well, so every morning when I go in, I check my shipping software and I make sure that things are getting delivered, and this thing just was not moving. And like, I finally reached out to her after about 5 or 6 days. I'm like, hey, look, you're in Rushville. Like, I could have driven this thing to your house in like 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I feel really bad. So I shipped another one UPS, and it just like, I don't know what happened last year with them, but I think they had to shut down like a whole sorting facility due to COVID. And then they had drivers out, and it was just like a domino effect, and it just caused a major headache. And I think a lot of people, even like using Amazon and stuff like that, saw it happen. And there was nothing we could do because by that point, the boxes already left our facility.
It's
like,
gone.
We're done. We held up our end of the deal, and then it was just dropped there. So like, and it's really nice because the UPS guy comes to my shop. I don't have to take it anywhere. He's always funny. He comes in and, he's cracking jokes, and he's just a really good guy. And so we've been shipping everything UPS, and their cutoff date is the 20th, the 21st. We have a countdown calendar if you go to our website, which if you're shipping outside of the state, I would probably try to get in there a little bit earlier just to ensure it. But I've not had anything take more than 3 or 4 days to get. I mean, I've had stuff go to Arizona and California, and it's not taking a crazy amount of time. So so I think our cutoff is the 20th or the 21st. And then we've been getting orders shipped out within a couple hours. We're actually organized and on top of it this year. And it's
nice.
kind of scary when we're all sitting around going, well, the shop's not destroyed. There's not boxes piled up everywhere. And, we're kind of on it, which what
kind of a head count have you got working for you now? Because you've gone from this is an invention you had working in the armed services to you've got people that are actively working right now while you're sitting here doing this little podcast.
So I have 2 full-time employees and 2 college kids that work for me, and
just busting out soap.
Yeah,
and lip balm.
Yeah, in fact, I think tonight I kept getting all these notifications from my blinks, and I think they were organizing something, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let them go. They're doing their thing. I've got a really good crew that could pretty much, we all think for each other. They're fantastic, and they're always willing to help, and they don't complain, and we have a good time. It's definitely not a normal work environment.
Don't forget your dad too.
Oh yeah. Well, so because of where we're at, they still have PO boxes.
Yeah.
So most of my like Amazon and like my USPS stuff still goes to my parents' house, and every now and then I'll get a pretty like Dad called me one year last year and goes, I can't get out the front door. I was like, whoopsies. So I went over and I load everything up in my truck, and if we're really busy, I'll call him and say, hey Dad, do you mind, running everything over? And they come over with a big stack of mail, and like he'll bring a truck full of stuff. And so I still have to use their address for some stuff because of the PO box problem. And a lot of my suppliers, because of what they do, they will not ship to you or to PO boxes.
Right.
So, small town hurdles. But when you ask,
I didn't realize Mount Summit was still PO box.
Yes, Sulphur.
I know
and Mount Summit.
Spiceland is as well.
Yep.
And Dunreath.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I didn't know how good I had it living in Newcastle.
Yeah,
No.
You don't.
You're definitely luxury. You're up there.
So you guys have to go pick up your mail yourself every day.
I don't live in the town.
No, I just ship it to Mom and Dad's. Like, I don't even have a PO box, and I live in Sulphur. I just ship it all to Mom and Dad, and they take care of everything. And
so your parents get all of your mail.
Yeah.
At this current age.
Yeah, 41 years old. And when you talk about headaches, like that's one of those things you don't ever think about. You have to ship, to a different place. You have to go pick it up. Really, there's not a lot of headaches. I mean, there was one point where there's actually now a separate shop phone and my personal phone, which not a lot of people have that, my personal number. I do have 2 Facebook pages because I try not to deal it was something I had to learn, because you go from this young business owner who's trying to make every sale possible.
Yep.
And, you're up till 11 o'clock at night dealing with customers. And I had to learn how to separate that.
All of a sudden, there has to be a business versus you?
Well, there was one morning that I had worked till about 2:00 in the morning because with COVID, like my employee, the one I had at the time, it was just me and her full time. Well, she still had to homeschool her kids because, we were doing the e-learning thingy. So she wouldn't get into like 6 or 7 at night. And we'd work sometimes till like 2 or 3 in the morning. So I was like, mom and dad would come in at 8:00 because, they're older. They wake up, when the sun comes up. And so they'd come in about 8:00 and then I'd work till like 2 or 3 with them. And then I'd go crash on the couch in the office. And then we'd turn around and she'd come in about 6 or 7, wake me up. And then we'd work till about 2 or 3 in the morning. And somebody messaged me about what bath bombs I had at a wholesale customer. And I remember picking my phone up and launching it off of my bed in a very, very angry manner. And I said a whole bunch of 4-letter words and I was not a very happy camper. And that day I called the girl that works for me and I said, hey, I'm going to Costco. I'm getting another phone. And that was probably the smartest decision I've ever made was to, separate that home life and work life because I'd be up till, 11 midnight.
Couldn't put it away.
Yeah. And it's a habit and it's a hard habit to break when you go from that, they're still going to be there tomorrow. But it's hard whenever this is something you built from the ground up. This is your baby. And all at once you're like, okay, it's time for you to go to kindergarten and we're going to separate for a few hours a day and I'm going to go have a life. And, Facebook, when Facebook kind of went down, that's scary for a small business owner because that's how we do a lot of our, communication. And that's how people figure out where we're going to be during like show season and stuff like that. Because I'm one of those people, I get so many emails a day. I'm like, please, for the love of all things holy, do not email me. Like I have a whole separate junk email account because, if you sign up, you save 10% today. And then they manage to send you 2 or 3 emails a day. And I'm like, I know what you pay for those. Like you're spending a small fortune. And
they work.
It does. Like finally you get to the point like, look, if I order from you, will you just stop emailing me? No matter how many times I unsubscribe. So I try not to, send my customers a bunch of emails. I maybe send them like 2 or 3 a year, if that. But when Facebook goes down, like that's kind of scary because that's how you do so much of, your sharing and, where you're going to be, what sales you're running, like what hours you have. Cause no matter how many times you put it on your Facebook page, people still just message you to ask you. So I have like a little message that if you message the business page after hours, it pops back and it, tells you like what hours we're open and, where you can find us and our address because we ordered a sign during COVID. We still haven't got it. I think it's
COVID's not technically over yet. So,
yeah. But the price of vinyl went through the roof.
Sure.
So by the time they got the vinyl in to do it, the price of vinyl had quadrupled, which I get it. It's tough. And, will things ever go back to normal? I don't know with the shipping situation. If I had a magic 8 ball, well, I do have a magic 8 ball. It just doesn't give me the answers I always want.
Eventually, things are going to level out. It's just, there's going to be a balance again. We don't know exactly where that's going to be, what the dollar is going to be worth, but eventually it will catch up.
Yeah. And luckily people, like, I will have to say, I've never seen such a push. I've done this for long enough now to support local, whether it be the produce stand to, I think we're up to 2 or 3 farmers here that are selling meat locally now and doing very well with it. All this push to support that local dollar and they want to give back. And, I've had many people come in the last 2 years and been like, we're only buying local Christmas presents. We're not doing any Amazon. We're not doing any like drop shipping or anything like that. That's been really cool. And we continue to see that grow because, like I told somebody one day, I said, Amazon's not going to sponsor, your kids' baseball team and they're, Walmart's not going to go buy your kid's show pig. And they're really starting to see that us local people really like to take care of, like I support FFA. I'm a donor for the 4-H. Those are things that I did when I was a kid and, it allows us to help them.
It's this whole thing that you're talking about with the supply chain and things. People become more aware of buying American made, but like that's not quite enough, as you can attest to as someone who's making a product in America.
Yeah.
The supply chain, like the companies that are making things in America, a lot of times they're waiting on things that are made overseas.
Oh, yeah.
Like So I think, and there's kind of an underground swell. There's a push of things like Samsung is finally they're starting a plant in Texas to start making these computer chips that we've been waiting on from China. And so that's going to happen. The sweatshirt that I have on is made by Origin in Maine, and a cool thing that they do is, as a clothing manufacturer, is everything in their supply chain is from America. From the cotton that is grown in America they process the cotton themselves and spin it into fabric and then make the sweatshirts. They make jeans and stuff. Everything that they do is made in America. I think that there's a little bit of a push to that.
American cotton doesn't have nearly the stigma it used to have.
No.
But I don't think that we're quite there. I don't think that people really understand that. And like, I've been a union member my
if anybody needs Zach, he's been
adult
slayed
life.
Over in the corner.
I've been a union member my whole adult life, and like one thing that unions do big time is like push American made products. So I've seen that for a really long time, and it always kind of surprises me when I'm like, oh yeah, I always make sure like my boots are from a company made in America, and someone's like, oh, I never really think about it. Like, how do you not think about it?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and then they're not going to think about it until like what we saw, with the supply chain where it's not available. And then you've got a leather worker down the road from you and you're like, oh, I didn't know you were making belts and, things like that. And,
that's way better quality than what I can pick up from Walmart.
Yeah. And if something goes wrong with it, you're going to be able to call that person and you're going to be able to fix that problem.
Yeah.
And, that's something, so I'm actually a disabled veteran. I've had people come to me just because I'm a female disabled veteran owned company. Like, we're actually in the process of getting onto lists because I really want to get into the Airbnb market and I want to be able to, supply local Airbnbs where I can make everything, like whatever the name of their Airbnb is. If, they have something out on a lake, like we can take a picture, we can put it on the label. We can have their own line of soaps where, you have this really pretty place out in the middle of nowhere that you can completely cater to. And, that I think is something that's really cool because I see people that aren't wanting to, do the big trips to like DC. They're not wanting to go to Vegas. They're wanting to go rent a house out in the middle of the woods for a week and, just get back to nature, disconnect from everything. And, that's something that's a really cool market I would really like to break into. And
that's a great idea.
Yeah. And then not only that, you have these people that are going to go spend a lot of money to rent some of these Airbnbs. You give them a little thank you package with a bag and, you put like a little half bar of soap in there, a lip balm. And that way, cause I always we do a lot of the custom lip balms. Corey Owens is a home inspector here in town.
I've absolutely had Corey's Beehive.
Yeah. Have you? And I always say, well, why should chapstick be in your pocket? Why shouldn't it be your logo in other people's pockets? Like I can tell you, I know where my lip balms are and most people do. So why not put your business card on a lip balm? It's inexpensive. People are going to continue to use it. They last forever. And that's something that, we're starting to see a pickup of as well as, people like Corey and I have been friends ever since high school. And, it's been really cool to see him go out on his own and, other small business friends, like the girl that, Princey's for me, she owns Bohemian Barn. She's just up north of Sulphur. The people that make cups for us that do all this stuff for us, like we've been able to tap into all these other small businesses, get their name out there along with us. Like I did forget your beer koozies. I do have Beehive Body Company beer koozies that she made for me.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. I'll get you some. And,
if I'd only drank a beer tonight.
Yeah. And well, if only I'd remembered the koozie.
So much would have been different.
I know. But,
we need to buy a new laptop.
Yeah. But that's the crazy part is it took me a long time to understand that like people are like, oh, do you have shirts? And it's mainly the guys. Like a lot of the guys will go to like a brewery and buy a t-shirt. And I'm like, well, why aren't we selling Beehive shirts? So we've offered a couple different sweatshirts and some t-shirts. We'll offer up some t-shirts again in the spring again. But, we always use another small local business to print them and bleach them and do all that process. So it's been able to, we're kind of just piggybacking on each other throughout all this. And it's really cool to see, people's names get out there and what they're able to do with just a word of mouth. And that's what I love seeing. And Henry County, they're supportive. This area is so supportive of their small businesses. And it's really cool, to see that and to see it grow over the last 2 years. I mean, it just took, a
generational pandemic.
Yeah. But hey, here we are. So
I still say that I don't know if I think you were out there last Thursday night with the Christmas walk that we had. It was there were 70 vendors out there on the street. It was insanity.
And I think it's because I saw an email from the chamber and I didn't pay attention to it because,
too many emails.
Yeah. And, there's some of those, sometimes I do have to remember that I have been injured. And actually, I had surgery on October 1st and they put a 5-inch plate in my arm and I was at a show.
Does that mean you now have a good arm or a better arm and a really good arm?
It's not really good right now. It's kind of turned into a disaster. Let's just say my snowboarding career lasted exactly 8 hours. And that was it. And this is, though, by the time it's all said and done, I'll have 3 different sets of cast and 4 surgeries from laughing at a friend falling down the bunny hill. So I am my mother's daughter sometimes. But did you ever hear the story about how my mom tore her ACL?
I did.
Yeah. So, I mean,
we should have put that in the Patreon because that's a great story.
Oh, yeah. I won't do that to my mom on. But yeah, if you want the greatest story ever about poor Beth,
come check in at Beehive Body and we'll tell you.
Yeah,
but
get people in the door.
Yeah, so it's one of those. The VA took great care of me. The Indianapolis VA is actually one of the top VAs in the United States. My mom was completely impressed with how they handled me and how they communicated with her during the surgery. And my surgeon's been fantastic. So I'm down a few more months. But it's nice that we've still been able to go on, that I still have the, the employees and stuff and the support from friends and family that'll go, and everybody always says, oh, I'll come and help you anytime you need it. And like, these people actually mean it. Like
they'll show up.
Yeah. We did Farmer's Pike this year, which was the craziest thing I've ever done. In fact,
that's where I saw you guys at. Okay.
Just wait until you finally do Fort Valonia days.
I've heard of that one.
Classy for Fort Valonia days.
But Farmer's Pike, I went to pay for my spot for the next year. And again, Cindy Gibson does that one with me. And we ended up with a 20-foot by, I think, 80-foot compound out there.
Wow.
Ooh.
Like 2 trailers.
Slinging some soap.
20-foot by 20-foot tent for me that had complete with gutters. Like my boyfriend installed gutters in my tent because it rains every year there. So he went in there and he farm engineered these.
Labor Day was incredibly rainy this year.
Yes. In fact, they shut it down on Saturday night. And, we do these outdoor festivals and people come back every year, which the thing that I got really, really blindsided with it, Farmer's Pike, was people were wanting Christmas. And I'm like, the tassels on the corner still yellow. Like, what's wrong with you people? And so we sat there at Farmer's Pike, and that's actually whenever we figured out our Christmas scents. And, one of the fragrance companies that I love and use actually did the Crushed Candy Cane. She is actually a Marine Corps veteran out of Texas. So it's been really cool to find these small vendors that, we have in common. And her and I talk trash all the time. We'll send each other, crown memes and stuff about the Marine Corps. And we have a really cool relationship. And she puts funny notes in my box. And then like the rip scent actually comes out of a husband and wife team out of Wisconsin. So a lot of our stuff, for the most part, most of our oils and stuff come from a female-owned company up in Chicago. One of our other bigger suppliers is actually out of Ohio. So we have all these people and, that are local to us that I've had to drive to when I knew that shipping was going to take too long. So we try to do as much local possible as we can.
Just to control your own supply chain once again.
Yeah. Well, and it's taking care of those, like, there's some major soap suppliers and, they're having thousands of orders a day, but you find these little niche companies that have just the coolest story. Like they're why they do this. And, you get to know them and, you become Facebook friends with them and, you're like, okay, not only do you produce a really, really quality product, you're really a cool person. Like I would sit down and drink a beer with you and like I would hang out with you outside of work. And that's been something really cool to get to know some of these people. Susie that owns, it's actually called Muddy Soap Company. Her facility burnt down in the middle of the summer, and she put up a GoFundMe and stuff to help her, and the soaping community really chipped in for her. And there's soap. You talk about your Facebook groups. I have soap Facebook groups, and there's things that we become friends with. There's a small group of us that just own brick and mortars, and we're mainly in the Midwest, but we have one girl that just actually opened up her third brick and mortar, and she's out, I believe, in Pennsylvania. But I can't imagine running one brick and mortar is enough of a trip for me. I can't imagine having 3 of those, but to be that successful with making soap, and she's just a really cool mentor. And on the grand scale of this, I'm still a baby in this industry. There's people that have been soaping for 20 or 30 years, and I hope to still be doing it when I'm 20, 30 years down the road, that I'm that cranky old soap maker that is like, what are you doing?
Next thing you know, you're going to find yourself at goat conventions trying to find yourself more and more milk to scale up.
Well, and it's funny because I joined a goat milk groupie page, is what it's called. And I'm like, oh, no. Well, this is 41, kids. This is where we're at.
This is what you have to look forward to.
Yeah. And
if the Goat Project hasn't hit you up to sponsor some trophies, I don't know what else they need to do down at the 4-H fair.
Well, it's really crazy. So I oddly enough this summer broke into the show animal circuit and the horse circuit because one of my employees, she rodeos. So we ended up making shampoo cool. bar for horses, and me being tired and having a sense of humor, I named them show poos. And then we also have Rough Poo, which is our dog shampoo. And, I'm not always politically correct. I want to have fun with what I do.
No, those are funny.
Yeah. And we got to go, I went, in fact, I saw Jeremiah a lot working the junior leaders booth at the local county fair, because we had kids that had used these bars on their show animals and stuff to shine them up. And, I wanted to go see how these were working. So now we're getting into the rodeo market and the horse market. And it's really interesting because I went to Horse Congress this year, and I'm not this coming year, but the following year, am I going to have a booth at Horse Congress, for 20 some odd days. But that's just, it's a really cool market to be part of. And horse people have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean,
the best way, this is from my personal experience, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah.
The best way to make money in the horse industry is to not own a horse, but be involved in the, hey, you're a vendor at a show, or you're involved with putting the show on.
Is that kind of like that saying, how do you become a millionaire in the horse industry? Start out as a billionaire?
Yeah, yeah. And
you go work the shows.
Yeah. There is one horse, and, he's been my test subject, and he hates bass. So I'm like, look, we're going to have to be friends here, and you're going to have to work with this. But, that's something where our business just kind of keeps evolving as time goes. And, seeing these kids go out and, they've worked with these animals all summer, and, they're showing their horses or their cows. And, the fact that we can go out there and support that, 4-H and junior leaders and FFA was a huge part of my life. And I'm sure from your involvement, it was for you as well.
It still is.
Yeah. And
I've had 2 4-H meetings in the last week. Yes, it still continues.
I don't know if I can do the meeting part, but to go out and see those kids and to see their achievement and see all their hard work pay off. And that to me is just really cool. And I do a lot with the FFA for the business marketing. And I work some with Shenandoah and some with Tri-High locally to work with those marketing kids and to listen to them go over their pitches. And, I pick it apart. And, I remember those people that did that for us. And granted, it wasn't over a Zoom meeting. It would have been a lot easier, and it probably would have been at 6:00 in the morning. But, I know that what that gave me public speaking wise and stuff with FFA, that I want those kids to go out in the world with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very exciting to find new avenues, and you find yourself supporting that. And the next thing you know, you're plugged into those communities, and they're buying the products too.
Yep.
Zach,
it benefits itself.
Tell me all about racing. Actually, you can tell Jeremiah all about it while I go get another Busch Light.
Well, the silly season for IndyCar started. Dry and Reinbold announced their 500 lineup, and they became my least favorite team.
That's the entire reason I put this in the notes.
Yeah,
was to make
my
make
response
Zach
was
deal
immediately
with it.
was like, oh, I don't like this team because it's shirtless Sage Karam, who couldn't afford a shirt when he had a full-time ride. And
I mean, honestly, he's kind of become more of a doughy Sage Karam now. He's
married.
Yeah, he's not the cover boy model that he was 10 years ago.
And then there's Santino Ferrucci, who's the most exotic sounding guy from Connecticut ever. But they're just like, I don't really wholly dislike either one of them, but when you put them together, I'm just like, ugh, what an arrogant
exotic sounding guy.
Santino
Ferrucci.
Sounds like he's from Tulum, Italy.
Yeah, he's from Connecticut.
Like South American drug lord.
Yeah. I mean, it's like,
Turin, Italy.
One of my fun jokes with like Indy cars, there's a bunch of drivers whose names give you no indication of where they're from. You'd be very confused if I gave Dakota a list of drivers and said, tell me which ones of these drivers are American and which ones are foreign and where do you think they're from?
Joseph Newgarden with an F.
Josef. Where is he from?
Germany.
He's from Tennessee.
He's from Nashville, Tennessee. Huh. Scott Dixon.
You're pulling me on this one. He's foreign.
Where's he from? Give me a country.
London.
London's not a country.
I mean Great Britain. You know what I mean. He's from London in Great Britain.
He's New Zealand.
Dario.
That's close enough. That's pretty much.
A good one though. He's retired. Dario Franchitti. Where do you think he's from?
Dario Franchitti.
Yeah, Dario Franchitti.
Virginia.
Scottish. And then we have Ed Jones.
Oh yes, Ed Jones.
Ed Jones is the best.
Where's he from?
Dubai.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean, it's just
that was the funniest.
Yeah. Gilles de Ferran.
Sweden,
France,
yeah.
but Brazilian.
Yes, yes. He's Portuguese. So
Will Power.
I know this one. Wait, no, I don't.
His hometown's
Australia.
Great. Yeah,
I
Toowoomba.
didn't know it.
Scott McLaughlin.
That's a North Carolina name.
It is now.
He lives now, but he's from Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's some of the names.
McLaughlin, I just think North Carolina. That's
he loves
Carolina.
Bed Bath. He lives in North Carolina now because he works for Roger Penske.
Yeah.
And Paul Tracy's out at NBC Sports, which I'm not super shocked and just whatever. It's probably because he's going to get replaced by James Hinchcliffe, which is a cooler guy. Maybe
it's the new era of Canadians.
Yeah, nicer, friendlier Canadian who doesn't go full Zapruder film on 20-year-old IndyCar footage every May. And
what's the pre-show?
PRI.
I just assumed since everything else is pronounced like a word in racing.
It's like
I made
the
that
USAC.
Yeah.
Do you know what SEMA is? Like SEMA is the specialty
this
equipment.
is a family-friendly podcast.
Well, SEMA is like the Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association. It's like who makes car accessories. That's a huge show they do in October in Vegas. PRI is like the racing equivalent to that show.
Performance Racing Industry, PRI.
And it's been in Indianapolis for a couple of years, and it's a huge show.
I had no idea.
Do you go, Zach?
No, you have to
get
in as a civilian.
You have to be in the industry.
Oh, wow.
It's invite only.
I got a DM from our friend, Kyle Robbins. And he said, hey, man, I got a 3-day ticket to PRI, but I can't go X day and Y day. Do you want to go on Saturday? I'm like, yes, I do. It is the largest convention.
So you're going.
I'm going to go Saturday.
Wow.
It is the largest convention that Indianapolis has had since COVID. 70,000 attendees over 3 days. It is all of Lucas Oil Stadium.
Dang.
Plus 2 segments of the convention center.
Have you ever been before?
Crap.
No, very first time. First time.
The closest I've been over there is they did.
I have not. I have friends that go a lot. So my pre-military career, I was actually a chef at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Oh, that's cool.
So a lot of behind the scenes things that I saw, like when you were talking about Dario, I actually did the unveiling party for Andretti Green Racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I've done a lot of work for like the team parties during the month of May. I lived the rock star lifestyle for about 7 years. My parents got to hang out. So my sister ends up coming to work for this company too. Well, you were involved with catering. Yes.
At the Speedway.
So my sister God love her, she doesn't know who anybody is. So she'd take pictures of these people and send them to my parents in the pagoda and be like, hey, who is this? And my dad's like, are you serious? So one day, this was back when Mary Holman was alive. She was on an elevator.
You have to
with
back
her.
up for Dakota. He has no idea.
Mary Holman used to own the Speedway.
Oh, okay.
Own the place.
Yeah. She was the head of the
I would've
Holman
been like your
family.
sister, been like, who's this lady?
And Becca almost alerted security because she thought she was homeless.
I saw her one time. And I was like, Dad, who's that bag lady? He's like, she owns the track. Because she was, as my parents would call the definition of old money.
Now, we're talking about Mary Holman or Mary Holman George?
This would have been probably Mary Holman George.
Yeah, Holman George, my bad.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm showing Dakota the correct picture.
Okay.
But Becca would like, in case anybody's figured out, Mary's my cousin.
Yeah.
So Becca would like text and she's like, there's a golfer up here. And like, what do they look like? Well, they're white and have a baseball cap. Okay. So it's not like VJ Singh or Tiger Woods. That's all we've established. And at one point she didn't know who Don Marsh was. And Don Marsh owned the company that she worked
grocery
for.
store.
Yes.
Yeah.
And local. That's a local. And
He was in commercials, Mary.
Yeah,
his company owned her catering company. He was her boss. And did not know who he was.
Dakota's looking at a picture of Mary Holman George.
If I had seen this lady in the track, I would have been like, hey, is she supposed to be here?
Yeah. But we got to meet a lot of cool people. My parents got to go hang out in one of the top floors of the pagoda.
You know what might have helped Mary Holman George?
Vodka?
Sunscreen?
Some Beehive Body products.
No, I don't think I could fix that.
Too far gone, man.
No.
It's too far gone.
No.
Listen. Skincare should usually be all natural, but there comes a time for chemicals.
Yeah. And, and she was always nice. I mean, she would stop on so actually one of our cousins, their wife was her nurse towards the end, and she was notorious for stopping and picking up dogs along the way. And we did some fundraiser for her and Jim Irsay out at the Colts Pavilion, and it was Saks Fifth Avenue released their dog line. So she rescued all of these greyhounds, and these dogs were drinking bottled water out of fountains.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, and it was fantastic. But she had a very big heart. She did a lot for animal rescue around here. She donated a lot of money to charity. But yeah, poor Becca. She comes back and she's like, I screwed up almost, and I was like, what'd you do? But we got to hang around the track. We got to meet Johnny Rutherford told me the story about how he met his wife.
She was a nurse at the track, right?
Yeah, and he looked right at her. He was getting ready to go out to qualify, and he looked at her. He got out of his car as they're pulling him onto the speedway and goes, I'm going to marry you. He goes out, wins the pole that year, comes back. She's in the same spot, ends up marrying her, and they were married for forever.
Until she died 2 years ago.
Insane.
Yeah.
I worked with a guy that worked in finance and had a lot of money. And whenever he had left that life, he was frequenting a bar and fell for the bartender. And she showed him a picture of a house on her phone and was like, wow, look at this place. This is amazing. So he asked her on a date, and they went on a date, and they went out to dinner, got drinks, and then they went driving afterwards, and he drove up to the house that she'd showed him. She's like, this is a house I showed you. And he's like, yeah, this is my house now.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, I bought this, and I want you to move in with me. And she did, and they've been married probably 12 years now.
And nobody
That
was
is
creeped
so
out.
cool.
I don't think she showed it on the phone because 10, 12 years ago, we had a hell of a time showing things on phones.
What? Phones.
2012?
Actually, no, that isn't that long ago.
Come on, dude. You didn't have a smartphone in
2011?
2012?
Yes, I did.
I think I got my first BlackBerry in 2009. So I had picture phones before then, but they were awful.
Oh, I had a cursor.
That was very quick math because he probably told me that story 6 years ago, too. And I don't know how long he said he'd been married then.
Yeah,
that plays into some of my fun
It doesn't
thoughts.
really matter.
When we get into it, it's okay. It's okay. I the sense of time and space is something that always tricks
Are we there
us up.
now? Are you going to kick us off?
No, we're gonna really quickly cover. Mary mentioned the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have been on Hard Knocks, and I've been staying up late to watch HBO on my bootleg version. I'm a registered account user from my brother. I think he uses my Netflix, and I use his HBO, the home box office. Are you aware of the Hard Knocks series, Dakota?
No.
So it's a reality show where they follow around a football team, and they've for 15 years they followed around in the preseason a team that didn't fire their coach in the offseason but didn't make the playoffs. This is the very first time they've done it in season. We can't hear you. This is the very first time that they've done this during the season, and they're following the Indianapolis Colts. So we're 4 weeks in, and they've been showing off the city of Indianapolis, and they've been following players around at home, what they're doing. And you watch the game on Sunday, then you see the behind the scenes story on Wednesday night.
That's pretty neat.
Check that out.
So it is fantastic.
I actually worked for the Colts for many, many years, and this was back during the glory days with Reggie Wayne and Peyton and
Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, actually, one of my employees introduced Jeff Saturday and his wife.
I met him once, and he was so nice.
Yeah, and really, all those guys, and those guys, they really are. And Peyton was always so cool, but I had a shirt signed by 3 or 4 of them. My mom about killed him because I gave it away to some kid. And, it was one of those. But, most of the Colts players that I encountered working for them were just fantastic. And, Peyton, it was back in those glory days, and it was just, he was the nicest guy. He was terrified of his wife because one time he was back in the kitchen and they were hosting something, and he was back there eating, and he looks at me and goes, "Don't call my wife and tell her that I spoiled dinner." And I'm like, first off, I
have your wife's phone number.
I'm pretty sure I don't have her number. You're safe. And
Mrs. Manning.
Yeah. Hey, so here, take a picture of your husband eating food that he's not
You'll
supposed to
never
be.
believe who I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. But those guys, man, they eat. We did work with the combine and how you have to feed the special teams guys to, the linemen and all that. It's just the amount of food those guys eat is astronomical. And it's no different than feeding IndyCar drivers to Formula One drivers. Formula One drivers are couscous and grilled fish. And then you've got the NASCAR drivers that want chicken and waffles. They just don't care. But yeah, all the Colts players were always very generous, very nice, willing to sign stuff, which we never were really allowed to ask for stuff. So they would always ask us, be like, "Hey, do you want us to sign anything while we're here?" And, sometimes we'd be like, "Yeah, sure. If you don't mind, we're going to raffle this off for charity." And then other times we're like, "Nope, we just want to sit here and hang out with you and talk to you."
That's cool.
So
that's cool.
Fantastic. It's worth, if you can find yourself, I'm not recommending you go out and subscribe to HBO just for this. But if you've got a connection to
can we all just steal
streaming,
Danny's?
You can steal Danny's. If you're a Cricket Wireless subscriber, I think you get a free HBO deal as well.
I'm just gonna text Danny.
There's a lot.
Everybody text Danny. Let me get his number.
There's a lot of options. It's worth checking out. They profiled one player the week before who actually Kenny Moore, who's Zach, Kenny Moore from the IndyCar world now. He was Joey Molinaro's buddy for a couple of days shooting. Kenny and Joey would go out and shoot at the track.
Oh, wow.
Shoot photos, and Kenny's become a big IndyCar fan. So the third week of the show, they followed Kenny around, and he had developed a relationship with a kid that had cancer in the family, and unfortunately the kid passed away in 2020. But he's continued to do Thanksgiving with the family every year. And then they came to the game, and he had an incredible game in the third week, and then he had an interception and a forced fumble this week. So they followed Kenny around. Great show. The human interest side is fantastic. Football, yes, whatever, but the human interest side it's well worth it. All right, we'll work our way into final thoughts. Zachary, what do you got for me this week?
I don't have much. This weather's awful. If you check local listings,
it was 46 degrees in the studio this afternoon when I finally turned the heat on at 5 o'clock.
It's going to be 63 next Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm going to try and see if this audio works. I was playing with something because it's just reminded me of some fun audio from back in the day.
Careful.
Oh, it's not doing it.
He's got something muted.
I'll help you, Zach.
He's efforting. We're searching.
Oh wait, yeah. Here,
pressing buttons.
Let me check another button here.
Searching. You have to unmute the laptop and unmute the video.
I was safely had everything muted.
I've abused Zach too many times. Here it comes. I heard a click. He's efforting. We're trying. Have you tried pouring a drink down the laptop? That can help. That can help.
Here we go. having to open up a menu. We all know how
Zach has launched. Are you trying to print? What is going on?
No, I've got it. I had it muted. I've got it now, but give me a sec. I gotta get back.
Efforting?
This is a
Searching?
This is a throwback to some audio that Jeremiah will remember. If I can, here we go. This is a segment, so it'll be a little audio before and after. Nope.
Don't have it yet.
Still don't have it. Never mind. I was trying to play some Joseph Newgarden Incognito when he would just play Dario Franchitti over and over again.
So we can Zach can at least put the link at the Patreon group for folks if they're patrons. I believe that Joseph would go behind the scenes and find folks and try to say, "Hey, have you heard of this Joseph Newgarden kid?" Nope.
Oh,
Still nothing.
Don't have it.
Yeah, I'll post a link. It was some pretty funny stuff because he was a rookie that year, and he would go, and nobody knew who he was. And he was interviewing people, and he would even ask about himself. He's like, "Have you heard this Joseph Newgarden kid?" And they're like, "Yeah, we don't know anything about that guy." And I'm like, "What about Dario Franchitti?" "Oh, we love Dario Franchitti," and it was all about Dario Franchitti, and it was pretty entertaining. But the funny thing was, anytime somebody mentioned Dario Franchitti, he had this like beauty shot of Dario, and if you've seen Dario, like
Dario was married to one of the Judds.
Yes.
Well, the movie star Judd.
And then he upgraded. His new wife looks a lot nicer, but and a lot better person, I think. But yeah, it was pretty entertaining. So, but other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything really like going on, and I don't think so too much. So go out and hang out with your family and enjoy the holiday season.
Do the very best you can. Mary, have we forgotten anything that we needed to cover?
I think we're good. I want to thank you guys for allowing me. I've watched this for a long time, and I kind of mentioned to you, I was like, hey, you should, spotlight a local small business. And, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity and to be here and, to hopefully let people know that we're here that maybe didn't know, and a few other small businesses here in town. And
it's a great opportunity to get some stocking stuffers done between now and Christmas as well. If you jump on the Beehive Body website.
And if you know what you want, you can pick it, you order it online, and if you would just do pick up, you just drive out there and she throws it in a bag on a shelf and you go in there and grab it.
We still offer no contact pickup because, that was something that was invented during COVID. But it's also really handy because we can't produce everything we need to and be open, 5-6 days a week. So we do Wednesday store hours and then Friday and Saturday, but we offer no contact pickup Tuesday through Saturday. So if you just want to come in and grab your stuff and run out, it's sitting on a shelf waiting for you with your name on it. Or we can ship, and we can even ship overseas to APO, AP addresses. We have some of that stuff go.
So what you're saying is that if you just go down there and you look on the shelves, there's a bunch of free stuff. It's just like grabbing yourself a Grubhub. There's just pizzas ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, I don't suggest that. There are cameras, but it's funny because there'll be people that'll poke their head in and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm picking up for so and so," and we do charge for shipping. It is a $10 flat rate, but if your thing is only like $2 or $3 to ship, we're going to throw in like a half a bar of soap or some lip balms in there for you. We win some, we lose some on shipping, but it's one of those things.
It's a whole lot easier for you, I'm sure. Yeah. To just say, "Oh, it's $10 versus." Yeah,
and so we're not weighing combinations, but we have gift sets for men and women. We have chapsticks. We have shower steamers, which are really popular right now. We have.
I love the shower steamers. They're like a strong menthol.
Yep. We have one that's called Booger Buster that we can't keep made right now.
That's what I want, man.
So yeah, we kind of find a little something for everybody, and it's not weird to buy people bath stuff. Like if people come in and be like, "Is it weird to get this for somebody?" And I'm like, "Well, do you want them to smell good?" Like, no. So yeah, other than that, we appreciate the local support. This has been a rough 2 years for everybody. So, to see people still coming out and to see small businesses really flourishing, it's been a really cool experience.
Well, very cool. Dakota, what you got anything for me?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about something. I've a podcast I listened to this past weekend with Theo Vaughn. And one thing that he does, and I don't know why I haven't thought about this before, is he has like listeners will call in. But they won't call in. They just leave a voicemail online. But I remembered that our website is set up to leave
for listener
people
feedback,
to leave a voicemail message,
so that so that Zach can try to play it and it never does work.
So that we can try so that we can play it.
I love this. Let's get Zach more effort, more work.
So it's like I just wanted to point that out. Like, I don't think that it's something that we're ever going to put into the main show, but I do think that it would be fun for Patreon members, especially. I mean, if there was something super funny or super cool that we could put in the main show, like maybe a host-only show, we would do it. Well, we would see. But like,
if you have Christmas wishes for Dakota,
I want people to start leaving us some voicemails.
Have you ever listened to the Smiley? I think it's the Smiley Morning Show does the weekend drunk dials, and they have a specific number set up that people will drunk dial them on the weekend and leave them voicemails.
I love that. Theo does it to where like he will put on his Instagram like, this is who I'm having on this week. He puts on the guest, and then people call in and ask questions, and then they screen the best questions, and he just we'll be sitting here, and he will title the episode like a soap maker.
Yeah.
So you call in, and they're like, "Hey Theo, hey soap maker, I have a question about like, where do you get your goat milk from?"
Yeah.
And they'll do like that like 4 times, and some of them are like genuinely way funnier or way more creative than anything that like a host could think of.
It just sounds.
But
like
I don't
Dakota,
think we're gonna do that.
It just sounds like Dakota's getting lazy.
I just think that it would be funny to put that in, like, or something fun to do in the Patreon. Something to where, like, the Patreon is always kind of like the warm up, especially for guests that aren't used to being on camera or on a show or something. We just kind of talk. You get a feel for how it is. I think that would be a good way to do it. Plus, we don't have to try to think of, like, why does the wind knock out electricity?
That was a legit complaint. There were so many people that were pissed at you. And you weren't even involved.
It's not like you made the wind. It's not like you caused the problem that you caused the tree.
The most hilarious part of it was with us contacting Dakota and going, yeah, with that many people out, you'd think my phone would ring. Nobody's mentioned it to me.
Nobody called me about it. This is the first time hearing it. And you know what?
Part.
Nobody did have to call me. That's what it was.
You weren't quite as important of a cog in the machine. All right, 2 things. I'll be very brief here with the for the first one. I developed a friendship with a guy named Jake Rose through the IndyCar world. Jake is a play-by-play guy in Nashville, Tennessee. Big IndyCar fan. I met him at the Nashville Grand Prix. He's a friend of Joey Molinaro's as well. He's from Indianapolis originally, and he works at ESPN3. He does a bunch of different Vanderbilt basketball games, Middle Tennessee, a lot of sports. He's an up-and-coming play-by-play dude, and big future, but he's also got a big heart. And Jake has been leading a toy drive for the last couple of years. And 2 years ago, the last time pre-COVID, they raised over $5,000 in children's toys that went to we have the Peyton Manning Children's Hospital and the Riley Children's Hospital. Well, they have the Vanderbilt University Children's Hospital down in Nashville, Tennessee, and they raised $5,000 worth of toys. So putting the word out for Jake. Sarah and I sent some toys. You order it direct on Amazon, have it shipped to him, and they show up down there. So I wanted to put that out to the community. I shared the pitch video from Jake on my Facebook page today. So if folks want to check that out, you can jump on there. And there's lots and lots of ways to give during the holiday season. We adopted a family through 4-H. That was one of my meetings that we talked about earlier this week on Tuesday night. The Junior Leader 4-H Club. The kids get together and we adopted 4 kids through the Salvation Army and another organization. And kids pulled out of their own pockets, went and spent a few $100s on gifts, wrapped them up, and they got delivered this week. So lots of ways to give, both with Jake's deal. Talked about some of the Facebook groups before we got online and how they have some, there's a lot of crappy Facebook groups. It's also a good way to meet a lot of folks and do some good in the community. So that's that. Our dear leader, Chris Spengle, got married this last weekend. And we talked about it on the Patreon last week a touch, but here's my existential crisis, Dakota. The new Reagan Spangle. I assume she's taking his name, and he's not taking the Hunt name as producer Chris did. She apparently doesn't know who Paul McCartney is. She has no idea who Steve Martin is, and she doesn't know who John Candy is. I said, does she at least know Chris Farley? And she said no.
Does she live under a rock?
She says, I'm 27 years old. This is the problem we have as we age out.
26.
As we age out, Dakota.
I love all those people.
What?
I love all of them.
What happens? How do you continue to relate? Because to me, I feel like some of these things are timeless and they're going to go on forever. And then you get this Johnny-come-lately 26-year-old that marries the leader of our podcast network.
Isn't it that old?
That's so
Cool Runnings.
Yes.
Uncle Buck.
Yeah,
Uncle Buck.
Just Home Alone. It's Christmas right now. Home Alone.
Home Alone.
The Great Outdoors. Oh, the Great Outdoors is
Great
fantastic.
Outdoors.
There's a guy in Newcastle that runs
Planes,
a
Trains, and
plate.
Automobiles.
Tommy Boy.
Oh, Chris Farley.
Even if nothing else, even like I could kind of understand
Billy Madison.
I could kind of understand Paul McCartney a little bit because.
Yeah.
But it's
even
the
around
Beatles.
around Christmas time, he has the worst Christmas song ever, but they still play it. And maybe you know the Beatles, but you don't know necessarily who Paul McCartney is.
That's like
Although
saying Genesis or Phil Collins. Yeah, you don't know.
I mean, I could kind of
that one's forgivable. I will allow that one.
but not John Candy or Steve Martin. How do you get to be marrying age and you haven't seen Father of the Bride?
Yeah, I mean that's
a
one of
franchise.
those. You watch it like bridal parties. I think I don't know. I've only been in a couple.
I think they
weddings,
just watch
but-
Bridesmaids now. And that's
Yeah.
the problem. Is stuff getting replaced? Is it the entire? There are certain things that are just staples of the holidays that I'm like, son of a bitch. It's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Christmas Vacation, Home Alone. These are not getting watched. Is that the problem?
I don't know, but I have
these kids Dakota's age.
Yeah.
My kids love Home Alone.
So wait, I have a serious question, and this might determine our friendship from here on out. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
People like to say it is.
It is. It is.
never
Happens
seen
during
it,
Christmas.
so.
Ends with a
What?
Christmas song.
It's Die Hard is a action movie that takes place in December.
Yes.
Things are decorated.
But if you start it, there's actually like a thing that if you start it at like, I forget what time it is that you start it, but it actually lines up to the exact minute in the tower. And in the middle, for some reason,
So you can where Hans Gruber falls out of the tower, and you can time that with the falling of the New Year coming in.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. You could do the same thing with Ferris Bueller's Day Off with the Ferrari.
Oh, you could. And that's
So does that make it a Christmas movie?
no, because it takes
it's summertime.
Yeah, and it's in that fictional town in Chicago.
You know
outside of Chicago.
You know who else is in that movie?
Who?
There's a lot of Paul McCartney music in there.
Yeah.
On the Parade, that's a Beatles song.
Yeah, that is. And that's the thing. Like Chris Farley, I remember the day he died. Like
Chris Farley is an animal, like an absolute legend.
So here's the problem. My wife was born in 1990. So Chris Farley died when she was 7 years old. John Candy died when she was 4.
I'm old.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I was in elementary school when John Candy died. I remember, he was filming a movie, and I'm like, son of a bitch, that sucks. I'm 5th grade.
I was in high school.
And just so we don't miss it, if you start Die Hard at 9:58 and 13 seconds, then the ball drop is a human dropping.
Yep.
Yeah. We are getting old. But
Yeah.
still, like, John Candy
but
movies are so good.
What the deal is we were all just listed off the movies. I watched and loved all of them.
They're timeless.
As a kid, like growing up. But I'm younger than Reagan is.
But maybe she was. The other caveat is that Reagan's homeschooled. But I'm homeschooled as well, so I think that invalidates that portion. But
Well, it kind of makes more sense because, like, with the Gen X parents, like my parents and Reagan's parents, those movies had fallen out of style to show your children. But my parents didn't really care that much. Like, my parents still, like, enjoyed those kind of movies. Also, I was, like, going over to a friend's house and seeing those movies. If you're homeschooled, then your parents are going to be more strict and you don't have any friends.
Maybe it's that they're not on cable. So to the new next generation, to those that are Bailey Davis's age and younger, are they just not watching movies on cable?
Yeah, probably not. And they don't make comedies anymore.
Well, any more kids
Like,
don't.
when was the last time you watched a good comedy movie?
Pineapple Express.
Exactly. Like, freaking exactly.
It's been...
How
been
long
10
was
years.
Pineapple Express out? 2012? Like, we were just... A good year, apparently. We've talked about it twice in this show.
But I think they got sucked into reality TV because, like, I don't watch reality TV.
now we have garbage TV.
Yeah, and it's like, I
just
watch...
pitched Hard Knocks to you people.
Pineapple Express came out 13 years ago, almost 14, 2008.
But
2008?
That's the thing. Like, they're all like obsessed with this Teen Mom OG, and like I don't follow like The Bachelor. Like, I have friends that get together and drink wine and like have charcuterie trays for The Bachelor, and I'm like, okay, I don't know about y'all. Well, you guys are all married. We just won't talk about my dating history. But I'm like,
we're all on your side, Mary.
I've had enough failed relationships. Like, I don't need to watch this play out on like live TV. And like, I watch these people and I'm like, these girls, like, seriously, like, you could go out. Yeah, it really is. And I'm like, y'all need something. Like, probably a therapist and maybe some Prozac and some, better supportive friends that try to derail this train wreck before you jump on it. And
or they should have just been watching John Candy movies.
Exactly. Like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was such a classic. And Tommy Boy, like,
I don't know if Dakota's seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I was a kid though. I think that was probably like one of those movies.
It's a great Chicago movie
that my dad like wanted me to watch. I didn't quite get it yet because I definitely wasn't in high school. I definitely wasn't even in middle school. Like, I had to be probably 4th grade.
Yeah, you need to rewatch that one.
Yeah, but
that's your homework.
Yeah, like that and the Breakfast Club and that whole Brat Pack, group of, but I think that's what I'm not sure how old you are. I was born in 1980. So
how old do I look? This is fun.
I'm going to go for you're between 31 and 34.
Dang. No. You just gave him such a compliment.
Oh, okay.
The guy that used to be the producer thought I was 48, Mary.
Oh.
I am 38 years old.
Okay. So you're close enough.
Yeah.
But we grew up with that Brat Pack, and I think that like, it wasn't like the nuclear family, but there were a lot of those movies in that era that like gave us this idea of, I think, just
of fun.
Yeah, of fun. And like, okay, so we're going to go skip school for a day, or, you look at that group from SNL where, Farley and David Spade and all those guys came from. And like, I haven't watched SNL in probably 20 years because I remember that core group of people. And like, I love Bill Murray. Like, I'm a huge Bill Murray fan. But, Groundhog Day and things like that, you try to show it to somebody in their 30s and they're like, what is this? But again, they're all hung up on so much reality TV, like Survivor and all this other stuff. Like, I just know what they are because they're on my Hulu thing when I flip through to, get to stuff. But I still tend, like, I'm sitting here thinking through my Amazon movies, and it's a lot of those older, I probably paid $3.99 for them on Amazon.
Caddyshack.
Yeah.
Caddyshack. That's a good
that
movie.
we were kids, you just turned on TV and you watched what was on TV, and you're like, my childhood was kind of defined by the movies that are on cable, which means they're kind of old.
You get a lot of Armageddon
they're on
and Apollo
cable.
13.
And
when I was a kid,
and now kids they aren't forced to watch anything.
No,
my kids are not forced to watch anything.
Your kids are going to remember watching Minecraft walkthrough videos on YouTube,
or like the Paw Patrol or something.
I also
they watch
remember
what they want to watch.
Being a kid and like what was on TV is what you watched. Like, I remember like
TGIF on Fridays.
Oh yeah,
I remember like Friday the 13th coming on one night, and like my dad's like, "Oh, Friday the 13th is on tonight. We need to watch that."
Which, by the way, if y'all don't like, I didn't think about this. I'd always watch Vegas Vacation like on a cable channel, so
Papa
they had
Giorgio from Yuma
edited part of it out. I was babysitting some friends' kids, and I just turned on Vegas Vacation, and I didn't think about it being like the whole hot tub scene and stuff. And I was like, oh, so like when like the 9-year-old kid comes running out and going, "Mary, there's a naked lady on," I'm like, what? Because it was the cable version.
My teenage brain
like
was,
Weekend at Bernie's. There's that. Scene, there's that scene too, because like I had watched that movie a lot on cable at my friend's house. So then I rented it one night and like was watching it with my little sister. And then there's that scene where the girls on the beach come up and they don't have tops on, and it's like, where's this at my friend's house?
Yeah.
the first time I went to the library and rented Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh,
the difference between Revenge of the Nerds on cable and as released on video Revenge of the Nerds is massive. There's like minutes of that movie.
See, I went the opposite way with Revenge of the Nerds. I had rented it.
And you watched it on cable and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, and then I saw it on cable with my friends and I was like, we got to watch that movie. We got to watch that movie. And then we turned on, I'm like, this movie kind of sucks. Sorry, guys. This is way different.
Super Troopers is another classic family film. All right, we are way overdue. It's like Dakota's supposed to be lifting weights in 3 hours down at the gym, so we've got to let him go home. This has been a great show. Thanks for joining us, Mary.
No, thank you guys. I'm sorry about your laptop.
Oh, it'll probably be fine. If not, whatever. We've got options.
It's lived a good long life.
It's
Barry will be at 7 p.m. with full honors.
It'll be okay. We will see you guys next week. I have no idea when this is getting posted, but we'll see y'all next week.